Hello, everybody. It's Pavita with Konversai, and we are doing our quaranTIME video interview series. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Amy McCann from New Hampshire, and I'm particularly excited about this particular interview because I was actually I was actually a guest on Amy's show a couple of days ago, and I think that's really special because it speaks to Konversai's circular model and how it really works to cross connect people for mutual benefit. So as I mentioned, we're just going to be talking about people's quarantine experiences, hearing their stories. Everybody has a valuable story to share, and we would love to hear from everybody. So Amy, maybe you could just start by telling us a little bit about you and what you've been up to these days and how you've been spending your time.
Sure. Well, first of all, hello, everybody. I'm so honored to be here with Pavita. She's just an amazing person. I'm sure if you know her, you already know that. It's Saturday here in New Hampshire. It's snowing. I woke up to snow. But I dressed up a little bit today just to feel a little bit uplifted. And, I think sometimes those smaller things can make us feel brighter and lighter. So today I'm a little bit dressed up. And yeah, thank you so much for asking about my time. Actually, it's been interesting because our family's in this dynamic where the father of my children is a quadriplegic, and we're no longer married, but we share 50-50 custody of the girls, and he, being in this position, has compromised lungs. And so should he contract coronavirus or, any type of, flu or virus itself, he can obviously be in a really bad position. He's been healthy for over 20 years and lives a really active life. But the reality is, in our family, if this were to show up on his doorstep through the home health aides that come into his home, he presently has two. As of, I want to say 3 weeks ago, he lost one of his aides. He had three of them. Not to coronavirus, but to being possibly exposed to the virus from another building that she worked in. And so unfortunately, she had to leave that position. And so that puts him, of course, in this predicament of now being down to two caregivers. And, the way that this affects our family is, well, first of all, we share children, biological twins, and they are teenagers. And they've been here quarantined with me since, gosh, I want to say the beginning of March. We took this very seriously. And, if he were to lose these other two home health aides, we had to have that conversation as co-parents, what his backup plan was. And I had to step in, okay, I'll backtrack a little. I realize we're in a situation as co-parents that is a little bit different. We happen to like each other, we support one another, and we do have a healthy relationship, so that does help. But we had to have that tough conversation about what would happen if he were to lose these aides. And I stepped up to say, would you be comfortable with my being there if that were to happen, stepping back into that primary caregiver role that I had been in for 15 years when we were together? And we agreed that that would be an option. And, the truth of the matter is, everybody has their own situation and a dynamic in the family. And the thing that I'd like to offer people today is, whatever situation you're in, be okay to have those conversations and look outside of maybe some, maybe you weren't able to communicate well with that person in the past, but maybe it's time to go within yourself, have a little bit of courage, think about the bigger picture of what that conversation could mean for your family. So it doesn't have to be as dramatic as maybe in my family situation is, where you have to change all schedules and you have to quarantine yourself. I mean, I've been seriously quarantining for a month. I haven't seen anybody. I've been here in my home. My present husband does all of the shopping. He's the only one that goes out. But yeah, I think when I think about maybe the biggest thing I could offer is having those conversations, sitting down with yourself and saying, who might I want to talk to today that could improve this situation, no matter how tough that conversation is. And what I would also offer is going into that conversation with, how should I say this? Courage again to admit maybe that you're not so comfortable bringing up that conversation or that topic, because chances are that person's going to respect you more and they're going to want to come on board with you. Because the truth is, if you look around, you can get caught up in all the bad that's going on right now, but most people have the same goal right now. We all want to connect. We all want to help one another, right? And we all want to know that we can count on others to support us. And so I encourage people to have that courage.
Wow, that is really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're
And
welcome.
I wish you all the best in your situation.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, so you mentioned your teenage daughters.
Yeah.
What has it been like for them to be in quarantine, to be home from school? How have they been spending their time?
That's a great question. So my daughters, being daughters of a coach, tend to have some systems in place that they follow, so that helps. But let's look at some of the negative that they experienced in the beginning, because I know this is a typical struggle for parents. As much as they are connected to our family dynamic and they knew exactly why they needed to stay home, as a matter of fact, one of my teenage daughters came to me in the beginning and said, Mom, I'm not afraid of getting the virus. I just don't want to give it to Dad. So she knew right away, and she could see the exponential growth. We explained it to the girls in terms of math, how this virus works, so they could see. But that being said, they're still human beings. They're still teenagers at this developmental stage. And so they're going to have a little bit of pushback. And we did experience that. One of my daughters said to me, Mom, why can't we go see friends? And this just came out of the blue one day, and it's to be expected. And she came out of it pretty quickly, but the fact that she spoke it into my presence and wanted me to know what struggle she was going through, we just went back over the facts. And if I were to say anything to parents out there, go over the facts with your kids. They're smarter than you think. They can detect your stress. So for you to say, okay, I'm stressed, and make it a fact, and just take them through your steps of how you're moving through it, and then say, I understand your stress as well. And you know what? We're all in this together. And here are the facts again about this virus and why we need to stay away from friends at this time. And what it does is it acknowledges your children's intelligence. It makes them feel supported. And together as a family, you grow that trust that's going to go beyond this period of weirdness that we're all facing. And so that was kind of the negative thing. I do want to mention what came out of it from my daughter, because I'm lucky in the sense that my daughters come to me with this information. But if you're having trouble understanding where your kids are in their heads, I say bring up the conversation. Say, what are you learning from this? Because this is what I learned from my teenager. She came to me one day and I was so amazed. It was so profound to me. She said, Mom, I'm starting to think that things kind of do happen for a reason. And I said, really? I said, can you explain? And she said, yeah. She just was sitting there pondering. She said, I've been thinking about it. And I took a lot of things for granted. And I was like, oh, my teen, she was really thinking this through. And I said, could you give some examples? And she said, well, even with my friends, she said, I took my friends for granted. I took school for granted. And she said, Mom, you always said to me on those days I didn't want to go to school that I should ground myself in gratitude and, push forward that way. And she said, I see what you mean now. And so I would encourage parents to sit down with your kids, to say, you know what, I think you might be stressed because I'm stressed. And, can we just talk about it for a minute? And also, what have you learned from this? Because maybe you can help me. Come at it from a point of view that your child is actually helping you. It empowers them.
Absolutely. That's great. So is there anything that you have taken for granted in your life that you feel that you're not going to anymore because of this?
That's a great question. You know, that's a really great question, Pavita. I think that there are many little things that I've seen creep up over this period of isolation. I took for granted my ability to communicate uh, further than the workshops that I do live and the workshop or the speaking events that I do. I really love and gravitate to the live experience. I come from a theater background, and I didn't go on stage because I wanted to be a star or I just wanted to be famous. I love the energy of people. I feed off of that. And we were joking the other day, I'm Virgo, I'm a hermit. I love my alone time. However, that being said, I also love that live experience. So what I would say is, I think I have taken for granted that there is more to the ability to communicate like this. I mean, I can do this. But I kept poo-pooing it away. I kept saying, oh, I hate video. I didn't even like film school. I hated it felt rigid to me. And I had to sort of I had to fall back in line with being in service. And when you are in service, it doesn't matter what platform you're on because your goal is to help and move people. And so that's why I'm here. And that's why I did the Spice of Life variety show and brought you on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so Amy is referring to her talk show, the Spice of Life variety show, where she is interviewing some amazing people from all over the world who have had an impact in her life and are just contributing to society in very profound and creative ways. So maybe you can just tell us a little bit about your show and what that experience has been like. And just
oh, thank you for asking.
yeah.
Yes, thank you for asking. It's really cool. Actually, this comes directly out of this quarantine experience. This is a primary example of what can happen when we really sit with ourselves. So this came to be because I thought, variety is the spice of life in terms of the people in our life that we surround ourselves with, right? And they say you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. We've heard that. I think many people watching that have heard. And that's all important. However, we can start to stay pretty stagnant or in a certain mindset in one circle that we frequent in. And so I wanted to take people into expanding their perceptions and perspectives when it comes to uncertainties, fear, doubt, disappointments, all of those things, right? That a wider community, and these are in my network, these are people in my network that I don't have the pleasure of hanging out with every day, but are there. And they're there to support and offer. And so what I wanted to do was bring together a variety of creative and brilliant minds, people who look at life in a specific way, coming from a specific story that they went through, something that was profoundly changing in their life, and what they could give back. And so I've thoroughly enjoyed this. This is frankly all about me too, because it's for my mental health. And I look so forward to going into those interviews with, just I'm going to learn.
That is amazing, and I had so much fun being on your show. I'll include a link to that segment and to other segments as well when we post this. So let's see. I think we've talked quite a bit about, looking at the silver linings in certain situations, and how, kind of like your daughter was saying, everything does happen for a reason, and she's been able to appreciate certain things more now. So on that note, what has been your favorite thing about being in quarantine?
Mm. Well, I have to say my favorite thing is the fact that I now have my kids 100% of the time. So that's been great. I will say that we have been visiting their dad, from a distance, from the car. Hello, Dad, type of thing. But I do have them every day. And so I think divorced parents, uh, they understand what that's like when you have your child 50% of the time. You don't take that time for granted. But now I really enjoy the fact that every day I get to see their shining faces.
Yeah.
Every day I get to listen to their fights. I mean, even that, right? I think that for parents, if I could just say real quickly, I think what I've been seeing in some of the conversations is people getting a little bit, stressed out because their kids are fighting, I say allow those times, because that helps them work through their stuff. I try to stay out of most of their fights. But yeah, I'd say that's my biggest thing, is just having them around.
That's awesome. So have you all done any fun activities together as a family?
Yes. So not as much as we'd like, but we've done a lot of walking. We've played cards. We have board games. We do a lot of singing and dancing and silly stuff. Cooking is big. I know you do vegan recipes, which I'm going to hit you up for on Konversai.
Yes.
We are vegan. And so
that is awesome.
Yeah. And so we're always exploring new recipes. And, right now we've just been doing a lot of beans and rice, because we're just kind
my
of
favorite.
We love it too. I mean, we could live off beans and rice. We're just like, my husband does. He actually does. I'm like, honey, do you want something different? No, this is good. But no, we love to explore the cooking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I'm the same way. And I love how this show is allowing us to learn these new things about each other.
Yes.
So speaking of Konversai, maybe you can tell everybody a little bit about what all you offer on there. So quickly, Amy is one of our global small business partners. So over the past few months, we've been partnering with small business owners who are of benefit to society, and who thrive off of interaction with people. And we invite them to join our platform and help them to increase their impact, connect with more clients, and also cross connect them with other services that might be of benefit to them personally and professionally. So why don't you tell us all a little bit about your business and what you're offering?
Sure. Thank you, by the way, for the opportunity. And the reason that I went on Konversai was because I wanted to learn. I just love the platform itself. I'm excited to go in and explore all these different new ways of learning how to cook, how to travel, how to do it all. It's just a great stop everything. And how I am presenting there on Konversai is as a high performance coach. So I'm presently offering a 1-hour session with which we cover clarity, influence, courage, productivity, and energy. And we go through this 5-step phase where we just quickly do this discovery of where you're at in those areas. And I would love to start adding some of my own programs to the Konversai site, because those also offer an extreme amount of value, I believe. And if anybody wants to go there within the next week, I think I'm going to start I'll ask you, how I can upload some of that information so that people can take advantage of that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Amy. Are there any last words of wisdom or bits of positivity that you'd like to share with everybody?
Sure. The biggest thing I can say when you're moving through uncertainty is to be okay to look into your personal history for those moments in your life that provide you with concrete evidence that you are a success. And the way that I describe this for people is through my book, Persevere to Succeed. I bring it up because Pavita was my editor. And in the book, one of the ways that you can really embrace your past as something to help you in the present and the future is to look to your role models, to pick one or two people in your life who have made that immense impact and that maybe you forgot about. And you can pull from that and say, you know, they taught me this lesson. How does that apply now in my uncertain circumstance? So that's what I have. And I hope that people will do that. I say it because a lot of times what we do is we dismiss our past as not valuable. And I'm encouraging you to go back and look at that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. It was a pleasure having you here. To the rest of your audience, if you ever want to be featured on one of these segments, please contact us. We would love to hear your stories and experiences. They do have value, and we would love this to be the place that you come for your daily dose of positivity. So thank you so much. Have a great day and enjoy your quarantine.